Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Philadelphia. My name is Leonard Kravitz. I work for the City of Philadelphia in the Department of Behavioral Health and Intellectual Disability Services, in the Intellectual Disability Services Division, Risk Management Unit, and I'm on the Pennsylvania APSE board. I think that pretty much takes up my 15 minutes just by doing my introduction. What I'm here today to talk to you about is in Philadelphia, we've had an employment initiative ongoing since 2006. One little piece of that employment initiative is something that we've had called the Employment Forum. Basically, a forum by definition is just a place or a medium, could be online, where people get together to talk about any topic where they can exchange their ideas, information, their points of view, etc. That's really all it is. So our specific employment forum is about the employment of people with disabilities. It's just that simple. We organized it because we needed to have some way to get all of our providers, some family members, individuals, supports coordinators, representatives from OVR. We used to have representatives from the Philadelphia School District, but we haven't in a while. To get a variety of, actually some folks from our state office, the Southeast Regional Office of Developmental Programs, to get a variety of people together in one place at one time to talk about employment. What can we do to promote it? What policies would we like to see change? What is it that's working, what's not working in our system? What can we learn? What can we learn from systems people? What can we learn from our providers? What can we learn from each other? So it became very important at some point for us to do this. You know, we talk about data and what progress are we making, if we're making progress. We have various work groups. You know, we'll talk about transition. How do we affect change from school to work? How do we get our supports coordinators on board to understand what employment is to promote it? But just in general, how do we make employment interesting, attractive, and understandable to everybody in our system? And keep something in mind too, when we talk about getting professionals together in the field, many of the professionals are parents of a child with a disability or have other family members with a disability. And that was one of the things that became quite a learning experience for myself as the facilitator of our group, to really appreciate the fact that these are people who not only struggle as professionals to promote employment, but also literally struggle with the system to help their family member get the supports and services that they need day to day, and how frustrating that can be at times. And I'm sure we've all experienced that at that level. So, I mean, if any of you are here as professionals as well as parents of an individual with a disability, I applaud you. You guys are amazing. And I've learned so much from listening to the people who come to our forum to express that particular point of view, because it's a perspective that I can't have, and anyone else who isn't in that position can't have either. It's just amazing stuff. So what is it? So basically, the way we got started was we said, well, we need some way to do this. So we said, well, we're going to call it the Employment Forum. How do we get people together? Well, we developed a group email list. Our list of our employment providers, families, anyone we could think of who we thought would be interested in being a part of this group. So folks from my office, folks from an agency, terrific agency called Networks for Training and Development, got together and we said, okay, we're going to make this happen. We're going to make this happen now. So basically, our first forum was in November of 2005. We continue to meet today. We're heading into our 10th year. We used to meet every month, but sometimes it just gets hard to keep things going, keep people energized. So within the last couple of years, we switched to every other month. So what do we do first? Send a flyer out to everyone that we added to this group email list saying, okay, this is what we're going to do, this is what it is, this is when it is, this is where it is, this is what time it is. So now we're at a point now where we meet every other month for about 2 hours from 10 a.m. to noon. Typically in one location, because people seem to like that, but that can vary depending on what people's interests are, if they're willing to travel a little bit or not. Something to keep in mind about the physical location is its accessibility, so the physical accessibility of the location, its proximity to public transportation, And this one particular location that we use is great because it's convenient to our L line, to the subway line. There's free parking, which is also very handy too. I'm sure in other locations, not just Philadelphia, the cost of parking can be quite, well, let's just say expensive and keep it as simple as that. So you need to keep all of those things in mind when you're organizing this thing. It's not hard, but there's a lot of little things that you need to keep in mind as you're putting this thing together. And it's a lot of fun to do. It's challenging, but it's also a lot of fun to do. I mean, I have learned so much, not only, as I mentioned, from the professionals who are parents of a child with a disability, but from everyone who attends that forum. Maybe they've even learned a thing or two from me. I wouldn't want to push that too much, but I've learned so much. And any topic whatsoever that relates to the employment of people with disabilities is fair game for a discussion or a presentation. Doesn't matter what it is. We don't exclude anything whatsoever. In fact, I even encourage members to keep in touch with each other outside of our forum sessions, because as I said, we only meet every other month, and if you wanted to learn from the expertise of someone else who attends that forum, don't wait 2 months. Contact them tomorrow, today. Learn from each other. I love to use the expression learning from the collective wisdom of the group, because that's what a forum is really for. We can learn from each other. So in addition to presentations and discussions, it's also an opportunity for people to share employment success stories, but also to get assistance with a situation they might be struggling with. Well, we've been working with Bob for a few months now. We've gotten to this point and we're really stuck. We're not quite sure where to go next. So they can use that as an opportunity to learn, again, from the collective wisdom of the group, that collective understanding of what we do and how we do it to help someone out. That's also why I encourage people to contact each other between sessions, because you don't want to wait 2 months for an answer, but you can use that group email list or maybe pick a particular email address out of that list, contact that agency. Because maybe you've learned that they dealt with a similar or identical situation quite successfully, so you can learn from them. Use what they did, adapt it to work for your situation. There is nothing that can't be on the table. Where do the topics come from? Participants, the members, the people who come to this forum often are typically the ones who give me the ideas that we then put together for those forum sessions. Sometimes it might be, what are the hot topics in the field of employment for disabilities today? And that becomes it. And often that'll lead to getting a presenter, usually someone local, could be at the state level, who will come to that forum to kind of guide a discussion on that particular topic. Sometimes if we're really lucky, and this doesn't happen this is kind of a rare thing, but it can happen, is if there happens to be a presenter in town. And if we're lucky enough that the timing is such, because we meet the second Friday of each month, if the timing is right, then maybe that presenter will come to a forum and address a particular topic with us. So we're very fortunate in a way if we're able to do that. As I said, it doesn't happen a lot, and so much more is being done over the internet through webinars, so you don't often have as many people physically in your presence as you may have in the past, as we may have had in the past. But we do it if we can. One other thing which we've done more recently is a quarterly, well, it hasn't always been quite so quarterly, but a regional forum. So it's not just Philadelphia, but the 4 counties, Bucks County, Chester, Delaware, Montgomery County, that surround Philadelphia. We've used a system called Blackboard Collaborate. I only use it, I have no idea how it really works, I don't understand it. I'm such a dinosaur when it comes to this online stuff. But it is a great way to interact with a larger group of people from a larger, broader area. Because not only are they online and participating to learn whatever that particular topic is or topics are, but you get a much broader perspective, because we're talking about counties that are very rural, much larger in area than Philadelphia. So many of the struggles that they have are different. Sometimes it's the same, but the solutions are going to vary. What might work in Philadelphia might not work in the farther reach of Montgomery County. So it's important to get those different perspectives, to know to know how things are working, what's working, what's not working. And we all learn that much more from doing that. One rule that I have, civil discourse. It's as simple as that. There are really no rules to this forum other than that. No one's allowed to leap across the table to beat the crap out of somebody else because they don't like what they just said. All opinions are fair game. You know, we're not always going to agree, but we can all air our views and share our opinions, and we can disagree, and sometimes we do. But you learn from that. If you're paying attention, you learn from that. I do keep a sign-in sheet. One of the reasons I do that, more than just simply knowing who came, is because that group email list will vary. People will come and go. So I try to keep that list as current as possible because maybe somebody's no longer in the system, or maybe their email address changed, or new people have come on. So I'm always looking at that sign-in sheet to see who has attended so that I can update my group email list accordingly. Another good use for having that list is it's not always about the forum. Certainly I'll use that to send out information, you know, when's the next forum. People typically know the date and time. They know it's every other month from 10 to 12. I'll send out the agenda in advance, which is something you would want to do. But it's also useful for other purposes. If someone comes across a journal article or a book, or maybe an online video or something that they've seen that they would like me to forward to other members, and I've done this myself, where I'll come across various articles and I'll pass that information along. So that we're always learning. I mean, there was a really kind of cool video and news article. I can't remember where these kids were from, but 5 fifth graders who befriended a fellow 5th grader who had a disability because he was being bullied and they didn't like that. So it's not always about employment either. It's about that community inclusiveness and understanding that at any level, whether it's child or adult, that we're all kind of in this together about the promotion of people with disabilities and who they are and what they can do, and that they're just people too. So it's not always just about employment. But those 5th graders became really good friends with that young man, their fellow 5th grader, their classmate with a disability, and he now participates in activities with them. Didn't happen before. I'm not really sure exactly what changed, but basically it had to do with understanding and not liking the fact that that 5th grader was being bullied. It's just amazing the things that you can learn from that. Another week you can use it for is to announce upcoming events, either at the local, state, national level, because people will often send me an email saying, hey, can you share this information about this event with your forum list? And I'm more than happy to do that. So there's a lot of utility to having the forum and that group email list so that people can learn about what's going on in different localities. As I said, I do encourage people to contact each other outside of the forum because there's always the opportunity to learn, and that's what this thing is all about. There's no membership fee, no registrations required, just show up. If I get your email address, I'll add it to the list. It's just that simple. I always encourage at least an annual, if not semi-annual evaluations. It's important for me to know what's working, what's not working. How can we improve it? Always soliciting ideas for topics for discussion or presentation for future forums. Because if the thing is going to be vibrant, if it's going to work, then not only do people need to show up, but they need to show up for some reason. They need to believe that this forum is viable enough and vibrant enough, and that the topics are of interest enough. And understanding too that not every topic is going to be of equal interest to everyone, so that they do show up and that there is something that can be learned. So, so that's basically it. I mean, our forum has really blossomed, and I remember having a discussion not too long ago, especially that there were some changes in our system and people hadn't really showing up too much. And I began to ask, is this still a viable thing? And people said it was, because we were getting like 5 or 6 people to show up when we had been getting in the neighborhood of 20 or so. So I began to wonder, is this still a viable thing? I'm going to be honest about it. I said, look, I've got plenty to do. The employment isn't even the primary task that I perform in my office. So if it wasn't viable anymore, then I said, that's okay, that's fine. We don't need to continue to meet. But people said it was. They were clearly making it clear to me that they were gaining something from this. So we kept it going. And we've done that ever since, and as I said in the beginning, we're heading into our 10th year, and it's just terrific, and I really enjoy being a part of that. And if you'd like more information about a forum, as I said, they're very easy to organize, but I do have a couple handouts, business cards, so if you'd like to talk with me more about it or contact me later, please feel free to do that. Thank you very much.